About how we acquired 40 apartments here and sold them within about 10 months to 12 months and made a hell of a profit.
Hey guys, welcome back. My name is Fahd Dawood. I want to tell you something very special today. This is a recounting of a time back in 2013, 14, 15 when we made a ton of money acquiring about 40 apartments, 2-bedroom apartments in this development over here that you see right behind me in Dubai Sports City, and then we quickly flipped them and sold them into the market to individual investors. And the people who put the money up made a ton of money. Now it was a triangle. There were the developer who developed the building, there were the investors who had the money, and there was the brokerage houses or the brokers slash agents, obviously, where we came in and we made a ton of money, right? As well, obviously, because we're selling the apartments for them. Let me give you a little bit of a backstory. Early in 2013, 2012, 2013, what we had done we had introduced to the market a special post handover payment plan where on ready apartments you could put about, let's say, around 20 to 30%, take possession, and then end up renting out the apartment or moving in. Now, even though you've only paid 30%, we would give you the key, and then on the balance, what you could technically do is rent it out and get money as investment back, rental return, or live in it yourself. Ideally speaking, it was something that was very good for both investors and end users. Now, this is something very unique that could be done in the 2013 and 14 market. Why? Because 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12, we had seen sales had slowed down. So developers who were still on the hook to complete their projects ended up finishing them, perhaps not at the best quality. However, they were left with a ton of inventory on their hands. This is where we came in to offer them incredible, interesting, and innovative financial solutions where we could sell their product to the market. Now let me tell you the story, how we made acquired the 40 units, how we sold them, and then how we ended up making money, the investors made money, and developers were able to move a ton of inventory super fast. And why and how there's always opportunities in the market. So now you've got the backstory, and this is how it happened. I was sitting with one of my mentors. I still remember it was 2013 February. 2013 February. I'm sitting with my mentor, and there's another broker who's brought a deal to him. It's a deal on a piece of paper. I think it's 4 or 5 papers, and he's offering him 40 2-bedroom apartments in this development. But the yes and the no from my mentor and our pool of investors has to come now, right? I think the down payment at that time was approximately $6 million that had to be paid in 1 hour. So the decision making had to be done instantaneously. Now, I don't advise my investors to make such decisions super fast, except if you're in the know-how, you're in the game 24/7. So if you're in the Dubai market, the Toronto market, the New York market, the Lahore in Pakistan market, or Mumbai in India market, and you know the ins and outs, you are very well set. Or if you've got the advisors who are actually able to do that for you, then you can actually make the decision very quickly. So if you're in the market, you're going to be able to quickly essentially make that decision super fast and be able to make good decisions on good properties instead of bad decisions on bad properties. So my mentor turns around to me and he says, Fahd, what do you think of this? Should we buy and acquire these 40 apartments to resell them to the market super fast? And I said, yeah, sure. Why not? What do I know? Because technically speaking, I didn't know this development and I didn't know the buying price and the selling price, but you know, I trusted my mentor. Here's a man I learned incredibly tons of information from, tons of knowledge from, that I was able to leverage throughout my career. And I said, yeah, looks like a good deal. I don't know, what do you think, right? Turns out 2 days later, I find out that he's acquired the deal, and now it's up to us, a team of 30 plus, to sell this to the market. Okay, give you a little bit of a backstory on the development. This development is made by one of the semi-large private developers in Dubai. The good thing about them is that even during the crisis years of 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12, when a lot of other developers had kind of run away from the market and didn't end up finishing their buildings, they stuck to it and they ended up finishing the apartments. Now, I'm not going to say the apartments were super high quality, but they were decent quality. And when they finished these apartments, I think like 2011 or 12, the market was not strong enough still to be selling these apartments to the market at the price that it cost them to build. So what they in turn ended up doing was they had a bunch of hotel staff, because they owned a lot of hotels as well. And even though these were primarily residential buildings and today are primarily residential buildings, they ended up putting their own hotel staff in there. So they ended up putting maybe 12 people or 10 people or 8 people in one apartment. And this is how Dubai rolls, right? Dubai innovates. Dubai comes up with new ways to make sure that people who put in their investments are still making a ton of money, or at least recapturing and recouping their investments. So that's what they had ended up doing. So the 40 apartments, and my mentor had bought them sight unseen. He hadn't even seen them. The 40 apartments were not, how can I say it, in the best of shape, right? You can really think about it. If there's 10 people living in a 2-bedroom apartment, they're not going to be in the best of shape. But yet his mental calculations were so fast that it just made fiscal sense and the opportunity made sense. And I'm going to tell you how we ended up making money anyways. So it was a good call on his behalf. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about Dubai Sports City. It's a master development by a private developer. What they essentially did was they sold off hundreds of parcels of land to individual developers from, doesn't matter where you are, XYZ country, you can come over here and develop a huge tower. Now, there's good, bad, ugly, excellent. There's a pros and cons to that approach, because essentially speaking, when the master developer does not control all the buildings, the way they're built, it does not develop into one thriving community that meshes well together. This is the difference with Emaar, for instance. When Emaar did Dubai Marina, they didn't do all the buildings, so you can again feel that the culture of Marina is very unique and individual with each separate building. But when Emaar does other communities like Arabian Ranches, Greens, they're doing the beachfront now, downtown for instance, you can see a complete meshing of the entire community together to deliver a wholesome experience. Now, Dubai Sports City kind of developed in, I want to say hodgepodge, but there again, I'm not putting down the development. There's pros and there are cons, right? You got to look for your value, okay? But this is essentially what Dubai Sports City was at that time. And when we acquired the 40 units, there were no school buses that used to come over here, okay? And this is how Dubai is. Dubai, the initial developments, the new developments, sometimes you might feel a little bit further out from the city, but very quickly public services start coming. So the school buses used to not come here. The buses of the RTA used to not come here, but that all changed in a year's time. But hey, that made our job a little bit more difficult when we were selling these apartments. The apartments, I'm going to give you a quick tour of the entire apartment and the entire community, because some of the apartments actually faced the golf course, which was a great thing about the apartment. But the apartments, because of how they had been rented out, because there were like 10 people, 12 people living there, and because the developer had made this development in the kind of like the heat or the middle of the downturn, some of the craftsmanship, some of the quality workmanship that you'd expect in a building was lacking, so that some of the apartments had some serious flaws, right? We had fungus growing on the ceilings, we had other kind of problems that were easily rectified with a little bit of money. Sometimes we put the money in to solve the problem so that we could sell the apartment. Sometimes the new owner had to pitch in to sell the apartments. So let me show you the apartment. Let's get in. And some of the key things that are quite interesting and different. So when you enter, because it's a large apartment, it's about 1,600 square feet, you've got this internal foyer area, and then you've got this large kitchen with a closed door. So this is something that a lot of people, a lot of developments were not doing, okay? This used to be the norm in old Dubai and kind of continued until 2013, 2014, where the kitchen's large and then there's a door for privacy, right? This was not the norm today. I'm gonna show you first the bedrooms. Okay, so you've got the guest toilet on this side. There's no light in this apartment right now, unfortunately, and you've got a large laundry room. But I'm going to show you the 2 bedrooms, which are both en suite. I can't really open the door right now. I don't know what happened to the bathroom door, but en suite, full rooms with built-in wardrobes. Okay, now look, I'm not giving you a tour of a luxury development. It's pretty standard, pretty essential, so to speak. Again, a full built-in bathroom and a full room with built-in wardrobes. And something that you're going to see from this room is the view of the golf course. Are you ready? I'm going to show it to you properly. Come with me. All right, bear with me. Going to show it to you completely. Now, when you come into the main salon area, or let's say the main family room / living room, it's pretty large by Dubai standards. And then you've got essentially a full length balcony, like a small short terrace. Yeah, and then as you step out, you have the full view of the golf course and a development on the golf course called Victory Heights. Essentially, when we were buying these 40 apartments, some of them, I'm not going to say all of them, but some of them had essentially full views of the golf course, or well, you can see the golf course right there, over there. That's part of the golf course. Some of the holes actually run through the development of this development. Down there is Victory Heights. Okay, this development is Victory Heights. Villas from 2.5 million up to 8 million, with pools and everything inside. Ultimate luxury by Dubai standard. And then you can see one of the holes. I don't know what hole that is, and that's one of the holes of the golf course. And then all those buildings that you see over there is also Sports City, essentially speaking. But so we're talking about this apartment. Now, this apartment essentially gives you this view, which is awesome, right? And obviously the building came with amenities such as 2 gyms. So this building had 2 gyms, one for women, one for men, and then a large swimming pool, and then I think there was a sauna and a steam room and everything as well. Okay, so this is a quick tour of the apartment. Okay, let me tell you a little bit about how sales went. Look, we came into the market with a very revolutionary plan that essentially said you just pay 30% and you take keys and you move in. The balance payment you can pay over 3 years, and you can either rent it out or live in it for yourself, which was quite revolutionary at that time. Nobody was offering that on a ready apartment except us. So you can really think about it. All we had to do was take out an advert in the local newspaper, put it on the local property portals, and we had tons of people coming to us to look for these apartments and just looking to buy. And essentially what we did was enrolled an army of 30 to 100 brokers by giving them an incentive of money, right? So if you're gonna make, let's say, 30 to 40% on the resale of the apartment, there's no harm in giving 2, 3 to 5% to other brokers and agents to help them, meet their targets and goals, take their wife out, buy their wife a bag, help you sell your property faster, right? I still remember the apartments were unique. I ended up doing tons of viewing, and I ended up learning everything about these apartments so that I could sell them literally on the phone. And literally that happens sometimes because we essentially flooded the market with these apartments and get so many brokers working for us that we would end up getting buyers coming to us through other brokers. But when we spoke to them on the phone, because we were kind of like, we had control over the inventory because we owned it, we ended up convincing the buyers to sometimes come and work directly from us because we knew the exact pricing to be offered, we knew the exact discounts to be offered. Now, I'm not saying we were cutting out other brokers because that's an unethical thing to do, but sometimes if brokers didn't have full information, they would kind of wing it. And then when investors came directly to us, we'd give them the full, complete information with complete proper pricing so that they sometimes felt more comfortable buying directly from us. And we sold a ton of apartments. I still remember some of the apartments that we sold were sight unseen. I remember I was working with one family. He had initially in 2011 or 12 decided not to buy in Dubai. His wife was a doctor, I still remember, from India. And he was an executive in a company making a good amount of money, but based in Bahrain. He came to Dubai in 2011-12, didn't really understand why he should buy here. and then went away to Bahrain, looked at Bahrain as an opportunity, ended up not buying in Bahrain because, you know, in the region there is no opportunity like Dubai. Okay, now hand on heart I'm stating this. Okay, the regulatory framework here is good, the investor framework here is good, the resale market is good, appreciation is good even with the downturns. Okay, and the rental income is extremely good and it's tax free. Okay, he ended up coming back in 2013, I think about 14, and we decided on buying. I think we ended up selecting an apartment on the 4th floor for him. Okay, and he essentially, when we were about to pay the deposit, that apartment was sold. I called him quickly and said, look, the same apartment on the 2nd floor is available, it's the same layout, it's still available, you can purchase it. And he went for it. He ended up purchasing it, which was great, a good deal for him, right? Something else that played in our favor. Okay, you got to watch for these market events, so to speak. Expo 2020 was getting announced and Dubai was about to win it, and Expo 2020 was announced. I still remember where I was, the day it was announced, and what happened, right? 27th November is when Expo 2020 was announced as Dubai being the selected destination, or I think it was called UAE Expo 2020, and it was going to be hosted here in Dubai. And a lot of people speculated. I still remember one of the apartments I sold, 23rd or 24th November, I just landed back in Dubai. I was out of town for 2 to 3 days. I landed back, a customer of mine, I still remember, drives up in a Mustang, sees the apartment once, just buys it on the spot, because he's got the same thing. He used to work for the airport, and he knew, like, he could see the traffic coming into Dubai, he could see how the prices are looking to go up post Expo 2020's announcement. He just wanted to make the purchase. Now, I'm not saying that that's the good way to go about it, because a lot of these people who ended up buying based on this speculative reason that price is just going to go up because of Expo 2020 ended up actually losing. Because I always state this, 7 out of 10 people in real estate end up losing money. So you need to get your fundamentals right and do the homework, or have an expert do the homework for you. So last, I think about at the end of 10 months or maybe about 11 months, we were left with 13 units of these. They're all 2 bedrooms. I think they were all rented, or by that time we had vacated them because of the employment staff that was living. We didn't need them to continue living there anymore. We ended up vacating the apartments, but the apartments were in bad condition. Now, our investors didn't know the situation on the ground, right? But I'm a person who actually goes on the ground, touches the thing, and tries to understand why the apartments aren't selling. Okay, and one by one I opened all the 13 apartments, and lo and behold, I couldn't even stand in the apartments. There was so much mold, you know, because it doesn't matter what kind of property you have, if you don't take care of the upkeep, or if you let it go into ruins, or if you let water drop from the air conditioning into the ceilings, and that's going to turn into mold and fungus, and you don't take care of that, it's just going to become extremely bad until you do take care of it. So it's very simple. When you're selling a property, stage it well, clean it up, put some money in and fix it up, right? And I went and I saw this old moldy ceilings, which was an easy to take care of problem, right? It wasn't something super expensive. I looked at it, I couldn't stand in the apartment because all of these spores of the mold that I was breathing in. I went back, I talked to my mentor, we spoke to one of our partners at that time, and I said, look, we got to put some money in. And I still remember I took that partner down. I was invited on that meeting on 31st December 2013. We were back in the apartments. We showed him all the mold that was going on. I said, there's no way we sell these apartments with all this mold. And I said, look, I've got a contractor for 3,000 dirhams only per apartment. He fixes this for us permanently, I hope, and we can sell the apartments. We ended up fixing the apartments, getting them painted again. I think it cost us 3,000 to 4,000 dirhams per apartment, which is nothing, because every single apartment, I believe, we were selling at about $1 million to $1.3 million at that time. And as we sold the apartments, we kept on increasing the pricing on the apartment as well. Okay, So this is how the money was made, essentially speaking. The developer had a crunch and needed capital injection, $6 million in about an hour's time approximately, okay, or so to speak. That was the rough edges of the deal. He needed it in an hour. We put it up front. We took the 40 apartments, acquired them, and the way we acquired them was that we were allowed to resell them into the market by paying them the 35%, putting it under our name, and then reselling it to the market on the same terms and conditions, essentially speaking. There was nothing else that needed to be done. And you know, the market was so hot that it didn't really matter what it was. Just having the inventory and being able to sell it was gold, absolute gold. So bottom line, and what's the lesson to be learned? It was a triangulate, let's call it a triangulate partnership. The investor, the brokerage house, and the developer. The essential point that I think that you need to take from this is that regardless of where the market is, there always are players in the market playing for big money to be spent, invested, and to be earned back to them. The opportunities that are out there, it's up to you to go and look for them or work with people who are actually in the market looking at these opportunities, synthesizing them, analyzing them, and then pitching them to you, and then running the entire deal for you to make a ton of money. The master developer, essentially these were the only buildings that you see on the right that the master developer built, okay? Decent quality, you can say, I won't say high end, but decent quality in very large apartments. And the masterpiece, or the centerpiece, so to speak, of this entire development was supposed to be a canal. I don't know if you can see the canal. I'm sorry, I couldn't actually show it to you. Okay, there's, I don't know if you can see the water or not, but that was supposed to be the canal. And Dubai Sports City ended up getting some retail downstairs underneath those buildings. That's about it. It did not have good retail options until very recently, especially not in 2013. But that's how Dubai is. You know, sometimes you buy in an area and then by 2014, 15 or 16, retail options start coming in and things start. And what Dubai Sports City has is, it is neighbors, or you can say its neighbor is Dubai Motor City. Motor City was essentially built on the concept of motor speed, okay? It's got a full autodrome inside where you can, depending on the car that you have, I think they allow any car to come and race it, you know, especially if you've got a supercar. But I'm going to quickly show you Dubai Motor City. And essentially, when we were selling these apartments, this is how we were technically selling them. We were telling the world that Dubai Sports City is right next to Motor City, and in Motor City you've got all these essential nice, what do you call these? You've got the nice, the retail outlets, right? So we had a Spinneys at Dubai Motor City. We had ton of retail that I'm going to show you on the right now that's coming up. So essentially speaking, Dubai Motor City had all this retail space. So they had Burger King, Starbucks, Caribou Coffee. It's going to be coming up. All of this is fairly new, but I'll show you exactly what was made at that time. All of this that you see are retail shops inside. I don't know if you can actually see them. I'll do a quick closer tour. These developments and all this retail has come afterwards. This is more recent. This is in the last 2 years, so 2018 and 19. But the essential shops used to be over here. I'll show you them. I'll show those to you in a minute. Okay, so now you can see that's like a regular Spinneys. Ton of other retail around here. Okay, let's just be safe, Mr. Dan. Okay, Starbucks, Wendy's, Subway, pharmacy. So you see, all of this is retail. I think that's a bank over there. And this retail is essentially a stone's throw from Dubai Sports City, like a 5-minute drive. And this is what we used. Essentially, if anybody came and asked us, where can I get grocery? And we told them, you can get it in Motor City. Just make sure you don't need milk in the middle of the night. Hit the subscribe button, press the bell icon. If you've got a personal question that's very specific to you, personal, I mean real estate related, then reach me out on WhatsApp. You can also reach me out on WhatsApp for general questions. General questions I take from you and answer them on YouTube. Ciao for now. Talk to you on the flip side. Bye.